Welcome to episode 4 of VASLing with Stu. These scenario replays are designed for the enjoyment and learning benefit for new and experienced advanced squad leader players. These are not tutorials, but rather actual replay between myself and my opponent. So let's head on to the scenario of the day. Episode 4 is ASL 54, Bridge to Nowhere. Combat between the Russians and the Italians in the Hollow Legions module. If you can get your hands on this module, it's a nice addition to your squad leader experience. So let's head on to a little bit of history. So here we are in Narvik from the last episode, U20, fighting at the world's edge. So let's leave Narvik and travel 1 year and about a month into the future and head down to where the CSIR units, 62,000 strong, with Mussolini's forces, are preparing to advance on the Bug River to cut off the Russian retreats and seize bridges before the Russians can redeploy and reorganize. So we have just a smattering of troops here that are just rushing through, approaching the areas of the Bug River, reconnaissance forces at night. And here we encounter a scenario where we have a smattering of units all along the riverside, conscripts, some regular village guard, a couple well-placed mortars on the edge as the Italians advance with their elite units and first line coming up to the bridge. And I think this is a fairly decent representation of the scenario, as you'll see when the maps are laid out. But the Italians will advance, annihilate any type of resistance on the bridge, and during the scenario you'll see the village guard come up and defend the bridge from the Italian advance and trying to stop them from cutting their forces off as they retreat across the Bug River. So let's go on and head towards our scenario. Digging out our scenario, we find that we are in need of 3 boards, 19, 7, and 17, of which 19 will be of little use. Pretty much it's just a setup board. The Italians will set up on the edge and then proceed to cross the bridge on board 7, and the Russians will be on board 17. But let's take a look at these victory conditions. The Russians win at game end if they have good order units / manned mobile AFV with a LOS to any road bridge hexes from 7Y10 to 17Y10. Pretty much the entire road that will encompass the bridge, and you'll see that in a minute. Provided all those units are also capable of applying a total of 16 or more firepower, including the use of the functioning support weapon, but disregarding rate of fire, breakdown, and all point blank, triple point blank firepower, to hypothetical attacks versus those same hexes. So essentially, if they could fire onto one of those hexes, you calculate whatever firepower they may have, including long-range fire, and if it equals 16 or more, the Russians will win the game at game end. So the Italians have to essentially wipe most of the Russians out, clear them out from the area, and then be able to secure it to alleviate any firepower. Now there is one errata in this particular scenario, is that the Russians will have 2 mortars, and there's no firepower equivalent for the mortars, and the errata for those particular weapons is that the mortars will have a firepower of 3 for satisfying the victory conditions. So each mortar will have 3 firepower, and they have a range of 20. So those are pretty useful in that aspect. Prior to starting the scenario, let's take a look at key concepts that must be incorporated into having a successful attack or defense. Let's take a closer look at some of the points of focus in this scenario. One is evaluate your OB weaknesses prior to your setups. The weaknesses that the Russians are going to have are half the troops are going to be conscripts with a low ELR, which means you're not going to be able to want to take any shots that you don't want to. Anytime you'll fail a morale check, it's likely that you're going to be disrupted. So we need to avoid that at all costs. Italian weaknesses. Not a lot. The only weakness they have is that their first line units cannot deploy. In this scenario, it's designed that the Italians are fairly strong through and through. On the nationality strengths, the Italians here, 2 nice ATRs, a couple mortars, do some good damage for the wooded areas, and a good possibility of taking that sole Russian tank out. The Russians' primary strength in this scenario is the ability to change the terrain. They can entrench and get that +2 modifier when defending, and that's going to be a huge difference. Instead of being in the woods, they're going to have that +2 modifier, and they can entrench at any spot they want, and it's going to be hard for the Italians to dig them out of them. 1, don't lose track of the victory conditions for first and foremost. 16 firepower is all the Russians need to fulfill their victory conditions. The 1 tank that they have allows 8 firepower, which is half of the victory condition requirement. So you essentially only need 2 squads beyond that of your starting 10 squads. So you can take huge casualties as long as that tank remains in battle. And that kind of goes into the last one, is identifying a key component of your enemy OB and take it out. The Italians need to take out that tank to make their job easier, because the infantry will just start to whittle and dwindle under that ELR of 2. And the Italians have those 2 ATRs that if the Russians can somehow break those units and leave those 5 portage point weapons in areas that's very hard to get out of, then they'll have a much better chance of surviving and keeping that tank alive to be able to defend the bridge and eke out a victory. Let's go on and start this game up. Okay, let's get this monster underway. Boards 19, 7, and 17 are in play. 19 is only going to be used for a very short period of time. The Italians will set up only on the edge, and they'll progress across the bridge to the woods across the river. A little bit of movement will occur in this part as the Russians will be setting up down here. And other than that, board 19 is really not used. Most of your fighting will be done all within this small area right here. So that's the typical board setup before we place all the units on. Placing the units on the board, we have setup restrictions. The Russian units, most of their force of 8 squads, will be restricted in this area here in buildings, and are going to be TI for turn 1. So none of them can move during the first turn of the game, and then after that their restriction has been lifted. There is a small force of Russians that will be placed within this next red area here, within 4 hexes of this bridge hex. And there's a number of concealments they have, 1 entrenchment, and you could set any number of forces up there. 1 leader, that 6+1 I placed there, is actually listed in this portion of the OB. You may select one of your leaders here and place it with the bridge garrison. And the bridge security platoon is what they call it in this scenario. So the bridge security, you may have 1 leader from this area down here. We did use the balance here and exchange the 8-0 for the 9-1 that I have in this huge monster snack, Mr. Pozniak, or Comrade Pozniak. And that may or may not be what you want to use it for. This scenario does take place in 1941, and you are eligible for commissar substitution with the 8-0. It'd been nice if they said you could substitute the 7-0 for a 9-1. That'd been great. And then you can substitute your 8-0 for your commissar at that point. But exchanging that, taking the balance on that, eliminates the potential for gaining a commissar. I didn't particularly think a commissar is going to be helping that much. I hope to have, looking at the victory conditions, the victory hexes to cover are this bridge here, this victory point here, that's Y10, the roadway all along board 7, and then this one singular hex here on board 17, I think it's 17, on Y10. So if you can exert 16 firepower on any or all points of that road network, then you can win the game. I most likely intend to keep my tank alive. It has 8 firepower, and so I only need 2 squads beyond that. Half squad equivalents, whatever you want to call it, ATR. So I have a lot of firepower as the Russians. If I just play a decent fall back defense and have a decent array of units where hopefully they won't break too early, then I will make it difficult for the Italians to fulfill those victory conditions. And I'm going to protect that tank and not throw it into the fray. But I'll tell you a couple things I had planned for that tank. But anyway, again, Commissar, lots of 6 morale units. Most likely, like I said in the introduction, those conscripts will be breaking and they will most likely be disrupting. 6 morale's not fun. You had a 1 morale check, you're looking at a 7 to be broken, and 8 or higher, which is a high probability, and you're disrupted. That means that they're not going to move, and throwing your Commissar in there to get that 6 or 7 roll, 50 maybe 50% chance of getting him back, just not going to be worth it. I'm going to use Pozniak here, 9-1, to negate any and all of these woods modifiers. If he's going to be non-assault moving in those woods, he's going to be subject to a -1 firepower. He's not going to have a major kill stack. I'm not a big proponent of major kill stacks. In this one, you really don't need it. It's all +1 woods, and so if you could just do harassing fire, again, the Italians, half of them are 6 morale and 3 firepower, so breaking them pretty much takes them out of the battle for quite some time. Zooming back out here. Set up for the Italians, again, on the board edge. These Italian units, there's an exception where only 3 squads and 1 single man counter or support weapon greater than or equal to 1 single man may set up within 4 hexes of M10, which is right where this note is. And an interesting note to that is, I'm not sure, we played it that it overrode the setup on the board edge hex, so technically the Italians could not set up here because that's an exception that restricted it within 4 hexes of that. It's kind of irrelevant because you could set up a number of units over here on the left hand side or the right hand side in H1, and you can get those units to this hex or this hex on the first turn. So if you go 1, bypass 2, bypass 3, bypass 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with a CX, but unfortunately you won't be able to advance anyway, so just you can go 6 here, then advance here, and then 4, 6, advance, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, advance. So you can get here in 3 turns, all from over there on H1. These are only 2 movement factor locations. All the fords, there's a nice one right here. There's a very convenient one right here to allow these units to retreat. But 2 movement factors instead of like the scenario, instead of the typical rules of fording where it takes all your movement. So these Italians are danger close to beginning the game. And these other units over here are going to be pushing their way over here. I set up a 426 across the bridge to hopefully get lucky and take a couple units out, or delay some units, or stop mortars or any guys from setting up in these woods to give, direct fire on my guys here, and possible movement around there. So I would slow them down a turn or 2, hopefully. And that's the idea behind that. I was toying with the idea of throwing another full squad over there. That might be too much, but if you have a harassing force back here, he's going to have to deal with it. So fewer units across a bridge means fewer units that can dislodge your main force when they come up. It'd be interesting to play it one time that way. So anyhow, pretty simple scenario. Italians, lots of support weapons, push and rush across the bridge, and then the delay of the Russians here allows the Italians to have an okay assault on the bridge before the Russians set up. But let's go ahead and proceed with a scenario. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Oh yeah, my sniper placement here was illegal. It has to be within 6 hexes of 6 enemy units, and it's not. But we'll see later on that it really didn't have an impact on the game. And as Dan Dolan pointed out in the latest episode of the 2 Half Squads, I think it's 129, that don't worry about it. Play Rule 8.2, and if you forget something or miss a rule, skip it, come back to it later, and just make sure you catch your mistakes along the way and just have fun playing. There'll be a lot of things you'll miss, and you'll see a couple of them probably in here. So here we go. Let's start the scenario up. I think he's got some simple movements. again, this red circles will bounce around somewhat on VASL. I wish it wouldn't really focus on the circle, but it really kind of does. But so scrolling through, we've got no wind, and oh, down here I don't have them now, but at the beginning scenario, of course, you know, out of LOS, these guys will all be concealed, so that will move on top of all these guys. The Italians have the option of starting the game concealed. He chose not to conceal his few units there. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in, give a much better view in the area of interest. I set the mortar up here primarily to target these hexes over here for when he moves. I can nail him with the 2-1 if I hit him and possible rate of fire. And just don't want these guys getting over. If these guys get over and establish a good bridgehead, it's going to cause me a world pain. Medium machine gun, I intend to drop back and just do the fire lane provisions here to catch the open ground hexes. You're not going to be able to stop everything, but if he wants to take 2-2 shots with 6 morale units, go for it. And so advancing through the log, he sets a couple opportunity fire on some of these units here, and I guess this guy's an op fire here. Yep, both the mortars. So both of these mortars have direct line of sight to here. So I guess he's just kind of trying to bring him. Sorry about that. Switching between screens. Bring him into view. Clicking down. So a couple mortar shots. Oh, that's right. He does shoot his mortars first. Hopefully get the loss restrictions. Now here's our first error in the game. Like I said in the preview, first line Italians may not deploy. We missed it. I missed it. He missed it. No big deal. He's a 136. No one's really worried about a 136. But anyway, he runs through, eliminates my dummies there. I have no problem with that. Has another unit, eliminates those guys there, and they just CX on out. They're just scouts ready to get killed. His 247 over here does the same sort of thing over there. That's fine. I really don't want to defensive fire against him that early. I couldn't anyway. So his other units start advancing. He runs right here. This is too juicy to give up. An 8-0 and a 3-6. If I can CR that leader or something, I mean, it's just a nice shot. And so I think I take an 8. Oh, actually, he tried to move into my hex, and he bounced. And so he's got me surrounded, wanting to do the bad kill the Russian thing. Standard movements of units just jumping up on the bridge. This is going to be a +1 modifier. I don't want to take that shot because I want my 8+1 right here. So, you know, it's possible I could fire here and the subsequent first fire here. But if I cower, I'm done because that's going to be 2 columns gone. He'll be final fired. Won't be able to take out a leader. And if the Italians have no leaders, all you have to do is break these guys and they'll be done. So, and I think I was checking, not necessarily checking LOS for my mortar, but, and there's that ATR. That's the bad boy you want to focus on. So that is the guy that I'm really worried about because he's the only threat for my tank. And this 346, of course, just are tromping down the road. You've got another 346 just moving up, and then again those stupid arrows, the stupid circles. This flanking force over here on the side begins to advance. 2-6 because it's going uphill, and this big stack of guys, obviously with a leader. I guess he just assault moves. Oh, and then I pop my fire over here, and I do get a great roll of 4. So it's like a 1 morale check or something like that. Maybe a 2 morale check, and I do indeed cause ELR failure on his 346. So, and they both break. So that I think was worth it than for firing on a 346 and a 4 even chart. I'd much rather go the 8+1. Mortar takes a pot shot at his little guy over there. No effect. I think I've got line of sight from the machine gun here. I think maybe I fired on his leader to try and kill him. I think I roll an 8, no effect, which is okay. He subsequent first fires, or final on advanced fires. Oh my bad. No effect on those guys. He routes his 8-0 and 3-3-6 over here. Technically, that's an illegal route because BB-8. If you string that LOS, and we didn't even catch this. I didn't even think about it. That's a range of 7 there. That same range is straight up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexes. So that's not even a potential route location. He'd have to route back here, and which it didn't really make a difference in the game. So, and I wasn't going to be able to fire on him at either location. So even if we caught it, it's really not that big a deal. Again, 8.2. Units are moving up. His mortars come out. His big kill stack. 8-1. Couple elites. I mean, that's his kill stack. So we need to avoid that or shoot. Hopefully, get a first shot on it. Another big stack of dudes over here. 9-1 and 12 firepower. A little faster stack. So that's those guys are those guys are going to be his driving force. Units on the right, advance over, and then we go to the Russian turn. He tries to rally. I think he fails. That circles are real irritating. It really is. He advances all these units up. I prep fire. Of course, the big juicy spot right in the middle. Get nothing. He does roll. I fired my mortar a few times. I think just to spot that hex, just in case he moves into it, because I don't think that's an LOS. I think it's a little tight between this stack here and this one. He loses hip because he's got LOS to it. So they didn't want to take the shot there. So I figured he's going to be moving in here eventually. So just, nail it, shoot down that -2, and he's gonna get in there later. And my guns are most likely going to malfunction. My medium, what I do with my medium here is I'm moving this bad boy. I'm using Borin as a leader to be able to have this 447 to tote this bad boy 3 movement factors away. 2's not enough. So I go 1, 2, 3 right across, and I don't think there's a LOS there. And jump in this woods here, and we'll see what happens with that later on. And 1, 2, and that's my 426. He defensive fires on my valiant comrades across the way, and unfortunately with the encirclement, I think I got a couple pintas checks and eventually fail a morale check, and he's going to be captured. He's encircled, so at the beginning of the route phase he will be captured instead of just failure to route. So end of the turn, beginning of advances. My 426 advances into the hex with Borin, the 6+1, and his hunting rifle, the ATR. The TIs come off. My good fellows down here, which means they're ready to move. Actually, I can unmove them. Okay, so they're going to be ready to go next turn, and I'll tell you what to do. I'm going to plan with those guys later. So, beginning of the Axis turn 2. Tried a couple rallies. I think he failed those rallies. Moving units over here, and this is what I put my mortar there for. Much more. I don't care. These guys will get across. Too many of them. I can't defeat them with the 2 firepower. I don't care what you say. Not going to happen. I want the -1 over here. So I start pounding him over here, and my first shot is a 9. So there went my rate of fire, and there go all of his guys. Boom, boom, boom. Just like that. So, and his units start running across the stream. And this is where my little 2 fire lane is going to help. Alternate hex grain the entire way. Just follow the hex grain here, and that goes straight through to the woods here. So if he wants to move these guys up in that woods, he's going to take a free shot. So 2 firepower, nothing to spit at. But medium machine gun opens up here. No leadership direction because he's +1. I don't really care. I'll take my chance with it cowering, but that's the chance you got to take. No squad fire. I don't think he fired, but I just want to lay down a residual so these guys just don't walk across. If he does happen to cower, you're going to be in big trouble. The only thing I guess it's not going to be that bad because that's the only hex he can come across the river. Now, we talk right here, the special rule is the bridge hexes are inherent terrain in this scenario, and therefore any line of sight alongside the bridge location, bridge hex, will incur the hindrance modifier. So this will be a 2+1, 2+2 shot for assaulting units. That's just something we're covering over there. So he first fires, and I get a 6. I usually never get rate of fire, but so what? The fire lane is what I want. My opponent rolls a snake eyes, and then he rolls a 9 subsequent to that, which is not good for the Italians because Italians don't heat a battle very well. A 9 for the Italians means that where is it? They would surrender on a 10. Oh, and he's +3 for the Italians, so he rolled a 9. So he's broken and disrupted in the whole 9 yards. So you'll see that in many games of squad leader that where your dice fall on what side of the game that you're playing, whether attacking or defending. If you're attacking and all your defensive rolls for morale checks are really, really low and all your attacks are really, really high, you're going to have an intact force, but so is your defender. So my opponent will be rolling really low in this game, and so will I. Excuse me. But sometimes Snake Eyes isn't the good. And look at that 4 morale. That thing is not coming back. So that's all really we have to do is just keep busting units. My subsequent, he runs another unit in there. 2 residual, -2. I roll a 5. He blows up. Another broken unit, and I think my opponent's tired of that. He moves his engineers up, and with his 1 exponent, let's zoom in on that. We got this 1 exponent, and he's trying to drop some smoke here, so his other units can at least try to get across the river without being subject to other detrimental firepower. So 1's not a lot, but he does have a bunch of squads. He fails at all 3 rolls. His half squad's moving there. I get 2 shots on that with no effect. Mortars are moving up. More units are just plastering on the bridge. Look at that. I wish I had a demo charge set on that bridge now. That whole thing would just go up. End of defensive fire. Fire lane's gone. And that circle's going to be irritating. And then my mortar he advanced fires on my mortar guy. He has no effect. Closest terrain for them to route to. Disrupted guy, I don't think he can route. I think he's in, if he's in open ground, I'm sure he must be able to route with LOS. So, and then all of his units just advance up, just creeping up. All those guys are jumping there. 1 big stack. Out of LOS, he's at level -1, but he does have that other ATR that I'm concerned about for my tank that's going to be coming on turn 2. You know, a mess of 3, 4, 6s, those really aren't the problem. This ATR here is the problem. Rallies that conscript across. I take a shot with my ATR, and Oh, I must have rolled a 12 on her or something. And mouth my ATR. My 426, and this is what Russians do well, is he goes ahead and he TIs and he entrenches. And I happen to roll a 5. Russians only need a 6. So I've got a 1 squad foxhole in a nice central location. Nice spot right there on AA5 to be able to hopefully push my medium machine gun in that foxhole. That's the plan, is to have the conscript make the foxhole, and then in the advanced phase move that medium machine gun in that foxhole, because he needs to be firing. Not sure why that was popped there. And let me zoom out. I think yeah, let's go to placement of my tank. The Russian tank can come on the north part of 17, the east part of 17, or the south part of 17. You probably see 95% of your players take the tank here, probably drive it over here, set it right here, and just fire on some hapless Italians, or put it hull down, which would not be a bad choice behind this wall, especially right here, because this wall probably has LOS. Well, here you'd have LOS to this location here, so you'd be far away, and you'd have your 8 firepower if you want to play it safe by putting it in this location right here. But you know, my idea was, and it's CE, 1-man turret, CE, so I can get benefit of the road. And as you see, he's an amphibious vehicle. My first thought was drive on the road, and he can actually, I think it's 7 movement factors to I1. He can use the other 1 movement factors to jump into the river here. So that'd be 1 turn, and it's only like an 8 turn scenario for the Russians. So he can only move 2 in the river. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn 5, he can get to Q8. So he'd essentially be out of the battle for 5 turns if I decided to do amphibious movement with him. That would almost, again, lock up another position here. It's more difficult to get to my Russian tank here than it would be as if I set him out in the water. So that was my first thought. But I set him up there anyway, and I figured 14 movement, and he's got plenty of movement. He can go a lot of places. And being radioless, he is not subject to the task check as the first turn as it enters the board. So you needn't worry about that. He just needs to do it turns after. I don't really care about having to park him here and worry about missing my roll. You'll make the roll, you know, 6, 7 times out of 10. Not that big a deal if he's out of the battle 1 turn or 2. That's what most of your infantry units are for. Alright, continuing to fire. Prep firing guys in the woods, of course. You got to use that -1. I'll take the hindrance for the bridge to get that -1 benefit. I happened to roll snake eyes on that, and so I CR one of those units, and the other unit, I believe, no, he doesn't break. He passes a morale check. So I blast 1 unit with a critical hit, and then miss with my subsequent shot. And then here come my Russians here. This unit came from S6. I want to throw Ivanov, and these bad boys right here, 5. I've got the ATR on the 527 because he's going to be gemming in these woods. He's not going to have long range anyway, so that gives him a 12 firepower for a point blank effect. Giving the ATR to one of these other guys really won't change anything. So that's why he's got the ATR versus Ivanov. And so we're going to go tete-a-tete with these guys over here. And Ivanov and his buddies are going to be my deflection force to keep them out of the battle. These other units are just simply going to move up, CX, and obtain positions coming up to the bridge. We got to run up there and join the fight. So we'll rush through these guys, CXing, running dudes along the bridge. And that's pretty much it for the the tank comes on. Pretty inconsequential movement. The tank. Tank runs across the road, coming down here. Sorry about that. And he's going to park right here. This is kind of an interesting spot. I don't know if I'm going to LOS to Q3 from here, but he doesn't either. And that's kind of one of those obscure LOSs that you could probably pull out of your, you know, every once in a while. So he's not in a great offensive position, but he can react. And maybe if he's hunting the tank, I could pull these guys to make them come this direction instead of that direction, if he's going to be tank hunting. So that might give me one more turn if he pulls them off this way and runs into the building thinking I'm going to penetrate the tank through here instead of going into the weaker terrain on this side. That's a reason why I snuck up on that side, just to see what he can do. If I just threw him on the road, he knew exactly where I'd be going. And so this way, with 14 movement, I can easily make it to my standard position over here on the side. An obscure entry point over here throws some question in your opponent's mind sometimes, depending on who they are, whether they care on what you're going to do with those tank, because this is what his focus is destroying that tank. So I'm not sure why our circles pop there. Defensive firing of my units, he just blasts my 237. ELR failure on him, unfortunately, so my mortar's going to be done. I didn't want that to happen too early, but you got to go with what you go. Oh, sniper. I do get a sniper. He does roll a 4 to break this unit, and my sniper does target this hex over here. Again, illegally set up, but it happened to flow this direction and pop his stack here. He has 4 potential targets. And of course, he rolls a 6 for his leader. So his leader gets popped. He does not die, but he does get wounded. So now he's a fine 6+1 leader with 3 movement factors. Not a good start. And what the Italians do, since they have nothing to fire at, they go ahead and attack my sniper. 3 squads. That's like a -5 modifier to nail my sniper, which he needs a snake eyes to destroy him, to reduce him by 1. I think a 4 will be a pin. And he does actually nail my sniper, so now my sniper activation number is a 3. So that was kind of keen and very observant on his part. Is probably not going to be firing anything else, so my guys moved, so kill the sniper. Take it out of the battle. Route, simple route. I route here forward just to slow his movement. Instead of routing here, I route or down. I route kind of, this is the same hex distance from here and this guy right here, so he doesn't see these guys. So he can technically route forward, and that's only to slow his movement. I consider this unit dead, but if it can block movement, it can block movement, and that's key in this one. His units are stacking up in this hex here. Now he's got 3 broken units, and you'll see what happens to those guys pretty soon. Not many more routing. Standard advances down here. Let me reduce these stacks. And then my leader moves over here. Hopefully he'll be able to get to repair the ATR, because I think there's a line of sight between this leader here and that stack of, and his rally hospital right there. If we can keep them DM'd, those guys are going to be out of the game. That mortar is going to have that same nasty LOS down through here. So that's a straight shot. So hopefully I can withstand a turn or 2 before I get myself into good cover or just get out of dodge. He actually rolls a snake eyes on this particular unit here for self-rally and rallies him up. So that's a great deal. He does not get a leader though out of it, unfortunately. But he does rally that unit, which is a huge boost, huge morale boost. Mortar fires, no effect, and he just starts moving units across. And of course, I got to pop that guy there with my stack, my kill stack back here. I think my mortar is going to take the shot first. 3 rate of fire, and the leader's obviously helping portage that thing to get him up there quick. And that's a straight shot. That's actually a decent LOS. You can see that LOS there. and that's a great shot. I was hoping that wouldn't be clear. I wasn't sure, but you know, sometimes you gotta eyeball these things. So I get lucky with that one. I don't get ready to fire, but I do hit it and break him. I think it was a standard morale check, and so air burst increased the residual. Actually, he's okay. Oh nope. I guess I did. I must have fired these other units. First fired these other units after my mortar misses of no effect, and I roll real low again. Non-assault movement. -1 liter means it's going to be a -1 in that hex. I think I had 6 firepower and I roll a 3, so he's just straight up gone. So one of his 447s and that ATR is out of commission. If he wants it, he needs to go move in there, and now he knows my mortar and lots of firepower is going to be on there. I think we roll for malfunction with a KIA, and of course the item malfunctions with a bad roll. His units attempt to drop smoke again, clog up the bridge. His units aren't going to bite on my tank down here. They're going to obtain strong offensive positions in those woods. And that's an LOS over here. I actually repaired my ATR in the rally phase. Wonderful, wonderful roll. I usually really bad luck on that sort of thing. So 6 + 1 liter. What do you do with 6 + 1 liters? You give them ATRs to DM guys at a range of 12. Nothing is better than that. Nothing is better than that. So he's just going to sit there and shoot his BB gun at those guys and just DM them all day long. Hopefully that will be the case. He fires his unit AA3, DMs this guy. Tries to get rid of him, kill him because he's in the way. And we go to defensive fire. He's just going to stay there. I thought about routing him back, but nah, I'm just going to keep him there. Okay, advanced phase. Kill stack. Nutsi comes right in the middle. He's undeterred by my units right there. He's got to push because he's got to get across that bridge. Right here, turn 3 Italian. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more turns to clear me out, and he hasn't even engaged me yet. I've taken minor casualties, but he needs his bulk of a force over here so he can start getting gritty on that side. Concealment gains, standard concealment gains. And we're rally phasing here and directly in a prep fire. I think we're in a prep fire. What? That's again, I hate those little circle things. Here we go. Movement here. One thing I'm concerned about here is why would I want to move this 426 away from my other units? Well, if he gets his force here, comes along the edge of the woods, he can bypass here. I won't be able to fire on him. Enter these woods here and possibly, get behind me on this side and either cut route paths or stuff like that from over here. That's a potential, not likely, but I was afraid of he might be trying something like that instead of just advancing forward and reaching the standard positions here. So if I can go for it, 8 firepower, point blank, I'll take it. 6 morale. I intend to be firing first, so my other units are just moving back, kind of skulking, getting in decent positions. He first fires at Pozniak, coming in here with my kill stack. I figured 2 firepower even. I should be able to take that. And I think, he does roll 4, which cowers. And most of my guys, I believe, make the morale checks with that -1 leadership. Again, another great benefit for the -1 leadership. It kind of doubles for that 9-0 would have gotten, but it also allows me to subject units to some good firepower shots. Okay, now my tank just comes strolling over. I roll 7 for the movement options, and of course at this point, I just have to park him, considering his ATR is malfunctioned here, and the other ATR I know is over here, so he's completely safe in a parking in the front row. And plus with that, I know I have line of sight to Z4 and most likely to Z2. So that machine gun tank is looking pretty swift right now. Units here are just advancing up, being cautious, don't want any units dead earlier than necessary. Circles are bouncing around or pointing to the particular units. Final fire his big stack of death. I mean, look at that, that's just monstrous. And of course the unit's not going to be able to sustain or withstand that firepower. He's disrupted with a 7 on my dice roll. You know, like I said, average dice rolls and these guys are still going to be disrupted. Mortars fire, try to finish him off because he's still a full squad. So, and he's done out, but he served his purpose in creating that foxhole for future use. I didn't want to put the foxhole up here because then he's going to occupy it as this unit is here now to use it against me. Foxhole in this location, if he jumps in there, who cares? He's not going to be really use that against me. That's not going to be able to be used by him. Mortar will be, but he has to get to it. So I don't really care about that. Pozniak fires over there, rolls a nice 5. I think those units start evaporating. We continue on the turn. It goes to the route phase. Those units can't route there. I think we talk about other movements moving over there. That's where the circles kind of go. Again, really don't like that feature that it centers on that. It should just highlight it. I guess my mortar malfunctioned last turn, and on obviously a bad roll. Just advancing my units up here cautiously. If he wants to move up, let him move up. I don't care if these guys are in open ground because I'm still going to get first shots, and I know they have 6 morale. If the assault moves up there, we'll see what happens. My firepower is obviously not going to be that great, but I'll have to deal with that. And I don't think any of those guys are in line of sight to that 237, so he gains concealment, so I'm happy about that. No wind. Not that it's going to make that much of a difference. Gusts aren't going to make any difference in this game. He dashes across the road, DMs that unit. He's going to be in a world of hurt. He actually does get smoked now. Finally places the smoke with one of his 447s, which is a huge benefit. And his monster troop jumps into there, recovers the weapon, and of course a defensive fire on him. He rolls a few morale checks. His worst one's a 9, so that unit's just broken. No ELR failure. So he's got a good core units there. I moved my 426 over here simply because he left over there to get some pot shots on this side, and his shot proves ineffective. I do leave some residual there. Units moving into smoke. The firing is 12 firepower into the smoke. Maybe 8. I think I fired both squads. So he gets across there. Residuals left and right. Guys are just running past. Once that smoke is dropped, as you can see in that center area there, this whole thing opens up. I'm firing everything he's got, and he's only broken. Let me zoom out a little bit. It might be too close. He's only broken 1 unit. So that's huge. Plus, he's got his 9-1 leader to his broken units. So, very strong, very aggressiveness on the Italians' part here. I'm zooming out a little bit, give us some breath. And he gets decent position. So, units start jumping across. Here comes the leader. These prisoners here, instead of taking the chance of breaking and him becoming a full conscript squad, which he was in the beginning, and causing mayhem on the opposite side of the road, he's just hightailing him back to Rome. And then this unit here, I final fire my units as best I can. Nothing happens during that turn. Kind of a flat Russian phase. I had some good fire. Now at this point in the scenario, I've got my kill stack of 12. This unit here's got 6 firepower to 2 hex range, so that covers all these woods. Great firepower. 426 hopefully to deter over here, and my other stack of 426s to contain this unit here from getting crazy. I don't have a lot. If this unit, Pozniak's unit stack would break, that'll give him a lot more movement capability here. Although I do have the ATR and the medium down here to harass some units in the mortar. These are going to suppress these units here, and hopefully Pozniak will stop all advances on this side. That's the plan. Spread out, let him come to you. Get the first shot. He gets shot and get disrupted. I do get another sniper out of it. From his, actually he rolls a 3, which is kind of ironic since he took the time and effort to destroy my sniper. My sniper comes over here using random selection through the roll. 2 units roll 6, and then I just happen to choose the second unit, and that's his leader. So his leader gets popped off from that stack. So his leadership on that right side is gone. Pozniak shoots over here. Blows a 12. We're looking at, he just routes over that side. That's a legal route. Routes are showing up, and now the Italian advances. Now look at that massive units. He's got guys everywhere. So Russian 4 rally. My 226 right here in the middle. Let's back up here just a second. I don't have a lot of guys going, but he is broken. So this should be deleted here. Delete that. I've got nothing else to do but self-rally this unit here. He can't self-rally because he's disrupted, although he'd be a better, it'd be the same chance. He can't self-rally, and I'd rather not, he can't self-rally either. So my only choice is my full morale unit here. And I do pull that Snake Eyes out. He rallies, and I do obtain, I roll a 1, and I roll another leader. So he actually pops out a leader. We just call him Ivanov 2. And so very fortuitous for the Russians. He goes through his rallies. Nothing. Prep fires. And I think this is where my mortar goes crazy. My mortar, oh, his sniper pops down here after rolling a 3, and he pins my medium machine gun, which is not good because he's got both his mediums honed in on my tank, which can actually destroy it. 2 hits on that tank. Has only got a 1 armor, and looking at the to kill chart for vehicle to kill, MGs are only a 4, so 1 armor makes it a 3, but if you see an MG equal to kill, we'll stun him. So if he stuns it, again, he can force his way into it, get another ATR up there, whatever. I'm plopping shots down on that unit right there. I think I pull out 6 shots, and all I do is pin him. Shot after shot after shot. 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. Pound and pounding until I roll, of course, an 11. Luckily it doesn't break it, but it does pin him, which is great because it's a medium machine gun. He won't get a rate of fire from that. So I'm happy about that. Firing on other units. I think I'm firing on this guy here. The tank fires. He activates my sniper again, and I happen to pop this unit here. Just crazy sniper activity. So going from seeing how the tides of squad leader can turn on you. 3, 4, 6, and you had a broken conscript here. I rally my guy, get a leader, and a sniper pops him off, and now he's in dire straits. So that's how quickly things can turn for USK players when you start playing full ASL. You get that heated battle chart, you get snipers going, and crazy things happen. So popping this unit off here, I think I roll a crazy 4, no cowering. Again, his ATR happens to be right in front. I'm really happy about that, because now all my other units have full firepower on him to destroy that unit. He becomes an extreme priority target. Pozniak fires a 6 chart because I want to save this 6 chart for all these other units. 6 even over here, and he happens to roll snakes. So at this point, I'm pretty much dicing my opponent with decent effect rolls. I out and out kill that 447 that was there. Again, right here, the reason why I didn't fire all of it is all these units here can fire back there and then DM those units. DM or break those units in the back. It shows that he's good order, but I don't think he is. I think he was broken. So my opponent rolls, I think, a 3 on a morale check. Sniper activates yet again. And look where this poor sucker goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it lands right on top of his other leader. And of course, with the bad dice rolls coming my opponent's way, his leader gets destroyed. And it's not looking good. Just 2 leaders gone 1 turn, and 2 squads essentially taken out of the battle. It's not a good thing. So all my units over here have already prepped fired. This battle is going to be out. Now we're focusing on this side over here. 6 firepower. I like these little pot shots, 6+1s. I happen to roll again a 5. My unit ELR and breaks. Prep fire the 226 with leader direction and on him, and then I fire the 426 to back it up. As soon as I fire the 426, because my 226 fired this direction, my 426 firing this direction, then immediately encircles him. And now if I should happen to get a lucky roll, my 426, this unit will have a 4 morale. Nothing, not very good. And then I started, I'm not sure why he's over there. Maybe I had them both there. And so, he's advancing. Oh yeah, he's defensive firing on my units. He doesn't have a lot of guys left at this point. Split 3-4-6s are only 2 firepower. Again, that's a big disadvantage for the Italians, is that his firepower has to be concentrated. Median shot down the road, no effect. Apparent shot over there. Mortar shot to destroy that unit, no effect. And then, oh yeah, I think I advanced fire that unit to no effect either. And then routing away that guy, this unit here, because let me back that up. One more. Encircled units, route phase surrender to adjacent enemy. So this unit will surrender. And then of course I will no quarter, because I don't need prisoners. And if I happen to have prisoners, which is another key point here, the more prisoners I take, the more encumbered my squads become, and then they will lose their firepower due to having prisoners exceeding the unit size number. So I don't want to have to deal with that. I need every single firepower I can get. And so I decided no quarter at that point, even though they'll continue to run away. I don't want to have to deal with that. So that is my strategy behind that. I don't want prisoners. And then these units here, I think we're examining units, doing rallies. You know, I think we're saying pretty much, you know, end a log file, because at this point we've got about half the Italian force broken or taken out of commission. His flanking force here is pretty much gone. He really can't afford to do anything with that. He has to eventually creep forward. I guess he can move here and then blast this unit with 8 firepower and kind of sneak his way this way. That's a possibility, but with no leader, that's very, you know, difficult to accomplish. My tank is still fully operational, with a machine gun and a mortar kind of guarding its position. Both his mediums are still up, but his other ATR is gone. So his anti-tank capability is pretty much close to none. Even though he has 2 of my units gone, taken out of the battle, I never intend to rally this guy because I need to keep the pressure up. And this 12 firepower on this hex and on his rally center over here just makes it very difficult. These units can never route forward. They can only stay there. I guess they might be able to go here and route away that way, but then they'd be across the river and out of the battle. So that's one decision at this point. My opponent choose to go ahead and concede the battle. Ivanov 2 rallies here. Now I've cut this flanking force over here where he couldn't really advance without getting shot at. So some nice rolls on my part, and some just some standard rolls on him. I mean, when you have 6 morale units, you're just going to break. So unfortunately, he didn't make the particular rolls that he needed to at the right times. So not a bad scenario. Again, the one that you could play around with. You could send more troops this way. You could put more Russians across the river just to see how much damage you can inflict initially, which would actually be really interesting. ELRing all those units over there, and then maybe even running your tank. I actually thought about taking some of these units, just a contingent of conscripts, because the range isn't that far, and taking my 706 plus 1 leader and running him, if these forces were destroyed here, running them across and getting on the back side, hopefully making over to this victory point hex here. But I think I calculated it out, and I think it would be very slow getting over there with all the CXs. So I really think you need your firepower here. You don't need to go that way, but what that will do is will force, if you get lucky enough, will force him to think about maybe sending 1 squad or 2, whatever it takes. But that would be a real stretch of the imagination to throw some units across the road that way. But interesting scenario. You could set it up a number of ways, and just play it a couple times. It plays fast enough. You only have a few options. There's only a couple of line of sights you're going to be able to obtain, and just roll the punches. And hopefully, your outcome as the Italians may be a little different, and maybe that tank will be destroyed. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and sorry it took so long to get this one out. Life interrupted quite a bit, but hopefully I will be able to put some more out for your enjoyment. So let me know whatever feedback you have, positive and negative, and any suggestions you have in making these better. I kind of enjoy making them and running through my old scenarios and pointing things out of the mistakes I made along the way. And maybe we can all learn a little extra from this. So, all right, have a great evening, and happy dicing.